What are the most dangerous or downright creepy locations in the Matoran Universe? Places that you certainly wouldn't want to find yourself if you were dropped into that world for a day. Let's dive in. These are just places in the Matoran Universe for now. Alternate realities, pocket dimensions and other planets will be for another time. I'm basing these locations on how they were in the period after the Great Cataclysm and before Matanui's awakening, as some of these places only became truly dangerous during this time, with the exception of my first and least dangerous on this list, the Great Archives of Mechanui. The archives had always remained dangerous to even the most experienced archivists, despite residing in on the surface at least, a safe, populated city. If you would like a detailed exploration of this location, I'll leave a link to my related video on screen or in the description. The archive's danger came from their extensive size, with some tunnels descending so far underground and so dark and unmaintained that many who went down them would never be seen again. The scale of this astounding complex is hard to do justice, but given that there were some sections of the archives that remained completely uncharted, even up to the point of Mechanui's dismantlement, exploring its deepest depths was probably not advised. Even if you discounted the eldritch creatures that skulked down there was the vastness of the archive system itself and the area known as the Fiku web, so named after the intricate webbing produced by the Fiku spiders. Here, senior archivists, the only ones permitted to venture down here, would become hopelessly lost, fumbling in the dark, as they were solely forgotten by the world above. And it wasn't just Matoran who this place posed a threat to, for even when the Toa Metru came down to the lower levels of the archives to carry out a task as mundane as fixing a leak, they had more than their fair share of difficulties. The Toa Metru resumed their journey into the tunnels. None of them noticed another pair of eyes watching them, eyes far more observant than any Rakshis could be. They noted the way each Toa moved and fought, filing the information away for later use. Then the owner of those eyes slipped away into the darkness, without making a sound. The hunt had begun. Whether it be the poorly maintained walkways or the blade burrower tunnels that lead nowhere, the deepest sections of the archives are somewhere you would not want to be lost. Far away from Mechanui, on the northern continent, lies the feared Trencron Peninsula. With a savagery befitting the sadistic nature of its assigned Makuta, this land features hazardous terrain, acid falls, and razor-sharp crystals that adorn the slopes of its mountains. Once outside the Matoran village, a settlement on the peninsula where Toa are forbidden, is a rough country, wandered by various species of dangerous Rahi. If you weren't caught or killed by these Rahi, the treacherous, volatile landscape would, as Mazika's village once learned when Vultraz drowned the settlement in lava from one of the island's many volcanoes. All this under the iron fist of Makuta Gorast, who had no qualms about executing any who opposed her draconian rule. And if you do find yourself caught in a lava flow, attacked by Rahi or falling on the jagged rocks, just remember not to make a sound, for the noise-sensitive Matoran native to this land will not take kindly to it. The Trencron Peninsula, not somewhere you would want to find yourself if you can help it. Further north and across the sea, not too far from Mechanui, lies the twisted realm of Kazani. Fire provides no warmth, while the touch of ice burns. Dust falls cascade over mountains, while pools of water sit unmoving. Thunder makes no noise, but the sound of a gentle breeze could be deafening. Connecting this hellish land to Mechanui was the Tunnel of Darkness, which ran the length of a small peninsula on the northern tip of the island, which in turn connected the sea gate to Mechanui. Flanked by jagged mountains and its entrance marked by a stone entrance, this tunnel absorbed all light and sound. The stone arch that served this entrance barred access to any beings of light. The charred earth of Kazani's island seemed to scream with the tormented cries of those sent here, for it was the Matoran Universe's equivalent of an underworld, where Matoran deemed unfit for its opposite, Artaka, would be sent. Indeed, Dante's Inferno, the first part of the famous epic poem, inspired the creation of this location. An age ago, a foul being was spewed like vomit from a fiery chasm on this island. His readiness to embrace his destructive personality, owing to the nature of his creation, saw him be enlisted by the Dark Hunters and given the code name a Devastator. If you strained your eyes enough, you may be able to just make out the dust darters, which dwell in the aforementioned dust falls, feeding off tiny fragments of protodermis. Harmless on their own, in swarms they can devour anything metallic or mechanical and strip it bare. They were regarded as pests by the Matoran workers on the island. The other Rahi on Kazani need no introduction. Manus crabs were used by the Mad Titan to guard his realm, much like Pterodax would use them in his lair of Mangaya. And then there's Kazana himself, a powerful but unpredictable ruler whose mask power allowed him to instill nightmarish visions of what may come to pass within his victims. Ruling his domain through psychological abuse, Kazani would also scan his realm with his mind, meaning no one was hidden. And don't let him try to repair you either, for his negligence in his duty means you'll likely end up in a worse state than before. The penultimate location on this list is Destrel, the primary fortress of the Brotherhood of Makuta. Selected by the Makuta for its abundant reserves of energized protodermis, this one pleasant land gradually became one of malice as the Makuta turned to evil. The island itself could teleport to different locations around the Matoran Universe, where it would anchor itself, carry out operations for a while before teleporting elsewhere again. Destrel was dominated by the Brotherhood fortress, which covered almost the entirety of the landmass on which it sat. Towers of stone and metal pointed into the sky, its base erupting forth from the island's core like an obscene growth. Inside was contained armories, prisons, chambers, and a library of arcane lore connected by corridors, ever prowled by Rakshi, Vizorak, and other Brotherhood servants who served as its guard. Inside was also the Convocation Chamber, the room where Makuta would meet and where Miseryx would be challenged and subsequently overthrown by Pteridax. Enclosed in 500-foot-high walls was the throne room, where the leader of the Brotherhood would preside, overlooked by captured Toa masks, weapons, and skulls of exotic Rahi symbolising the power of the Makuta species. And in the deepest, darkest recesses of this looming citadel was the vault of Makuta Tridax, floating in stasis tubes, where his captured Shadow Takanuva specimens from the myriad alternate dimensions he crossed into using his Kanoe Ormak, which, when not in use, sat on a small table in the centre of the chamber. Even if you avoided the patrolling squads of Rakshi, Vizorak, and Exotoa, you could still very likely end up caught by one of the many concealed traps which line the walls of this bastion, or be captured by one of the Makuta themselves, and invariably be taken to one of the torture chambers, your screams out of the range of hearing of any who might save you. Before we get to our number one for most dangerous location, an honourable mention, Mangaya / the Maze of Shadows, another lair of Makuta Pteridax, I shall spare you too many details on this location as I have already videoed focusing on it and covering it in more depth. Link will be in the description or the top right of the screen. And now for our most dangerous location on this list, Cardanui, the core of the Matoran world and the source of its power, crucial to the running of the Great Spirit robot. Naturally, this was an extremely volatile place and not somewhere for the foolish or the inexperienced. Entirely encased in a gargantuan dome and rocked by raging energy storms, Cardanui was dramatically changed in the aftermath of the Great Cataclysm, as mutagenic waters seeping in resulted in the formation of a swamp extending over the floor of the cavern. Reminiscent of the Carboniferous epoch of Earth's history, this newly formed mire, dubbed the Swamp of Secrets, became home to bizarre mutated Rahi and plant life as a heavy mist fell over Cardanui. Mutated by the mutagenic properties of the swamp, where Makuta Bitil's grotesque creation, the Nyazesk, and yes, that took a few attempts to pronounce, having become a 7-foot-tall insectoid, these creatures were brought to Cardanui and possessed a venomous bite and stinger, the poison within having also been strengthened in its potency by the swamp. In keeping with the prehistoric Carboniferous resembling location, the giant insects were accompanied by the reptilian swamp striders. With powerful jaws and a tough, armoured hide, these creatures would lurk in the stagnant, viscous pools of the swamp, waiting for passing prey. And of course, whirling around the enormous cavern in which all this resided were fierce energy storms, unpredictable in their frequency and intensity. These storms would go on to incinerate and utterly atomise all the aforementioned Rahi, as well as the doomed Brotherhood members who were sent here by their uncaring leader. Absolutely not somewhere you would want to be. And with that, let me know of any of the locations in the Matoran universe you think deserve a mention. As stated at the beginning, I will probably do another video which includes locations in alternate realities, other dimensions, and other planets. In the meantime though, take care and goodbye.